London, 1888, the largest city in the world, the heart of the British Empire, a beacon of progress and industry. But beneath the veneer of Victorian grandeur lies a darker, more desperate reality. In the East End, a district known as Whitechapel, life is a constant struggle for survival. This is a story from the shadows, a mystery that has haunted history for over a century. Now, this is the story of Jack the Ripper. To understand the terror that gripped this city, we must first walk its streets. Imagine a world lit not by electricity, but by the flickering, eerie glow of gas lamps. They cast long, dancing shadows down narrow, cobblestone alleys slick with rain and filth. The air is thick with the smell of coal smoke from countless chimneys, mixing with the stench from the tanneries and slaughterhouses that line the river. This is a city of smog, a constant heavy fog that can descend in minutes, muffling sound and reducing visibility to mere feet. It's a perfect shroud for a secret, a perfect stage for a nightmare. Whitechapel was one of the most overcrowded and impoverished districts in London. Tens of thousands of people were crammed into decaying tenements and squalid lodging houses, known as dose houses. For just a few pence, a person could get a bed for the night, or even just a spot on a bench. Privacy was a luxury few could afford. These were communities of the desperate immigrants from Ireland, Eastern Europe, and beyond, all seeking a better life but finding only hardship. Work was scarce and poorly paid. Men toiled at the docks or in sweatshops, while many women, with no other options to feed themselves or their children, were forced into the perilous life of streetwalking. Life was cheap in the East End. Disease was rampant, and violence was a common feature of daily existence. The police force, the Metropolitan Police, were a common sight, patrolling their beats in their heavy wool coats and distinctive helmets. But they were overstretched and often viewed with suspicion by the locals. They were tasked with keeping order in a sea of chaos, a job that was about to become impossible. In the summer of 1888, the atmosphere in Whitechapel was tense, but it was the familiar tension of poverty and struggle. No one could have imagined the unprecedented horror that was about to unfold. The calendar turned to August. The nights were still warm, the streets still bustling with the usual late-night activity of pubs emptying out and workers heading home. It was a time of routine, a time before the fear had a name. Our story begins in the early hours of August 31st. The gas lamps hummed, casting their weak yellow light over the cobblestones of Bucks Row, a quiet, unremarkable street in the heart of Whitechapel. A cart driver named Charles Cross was making his way to work just before 4 a.m., a typical start to a typical day. As he walked, he noticed something unusual on the pavement ahead, a dark bundle lying in a gateway. He thought it might be a discarded tarpaulin. Curiosity piqued. He stepped closer. Another man, Robert Paul, also on his way to work, was approaching from the opposite direction. Together, they peered into the gloom. The bundle was not a tarpaulin. It was the body of a woman. She was lying on her back, her clothes disarranged. At first, they thought she might be drunk or asleep. They tried to rouse her, gently touching her face and hands. They were cold, lifeless. Believing they had stumbled upon a tragic but not uncommon scene perhaps, a woman who had succumbed to alcohol or exposure, they decided they needed to find a policeman. They straightened her dress out of a sense of decency and continued on their way, agreeing to alert the first constable they saw. They soon found Constable Jonas Mizzen on his beat. They reported their grim discovery, and Mizzen made his way to Bucks Row, not yet realizing he was walking toward the first chapter of a legend. Back on the quiet street, another officer, Constable John Neal, was on his patrol. He had passed through Bucks Row just 30 minutes earlier and had seen nothing out of the ordinary. Now, as he walked the same path again, his lantern beam fell upon the figure in the gateway. He quickly realized the situation was far more serious than just an unfortunate death. He knelt down, checking for a pulse, for any sign of life. There was none. As he examined her more closely in the dim light, he saw something that sent a chill down his spine. Her throat had been severely cut. This was no accident. This was murder. Dr. Rees Ralph Llewellyn was summoned to the scene. The early morning light was beginning to break through the London haze as he arrived. His initial examination confirmed Constable Neal's terrifying conclusion. The woman had been killed swiftly and brutally. Her name, he would later learn, was Mary Ann Nichols, known as Polly. She was 43 years old, a mother, a daughter, and a woman who had fallen on hard times. She was the first. The discovery in Bucks Row sent a ripple of unease through the community, but not yet panic. Murder was not unheard of in Whitechapel, but this one felt different. The cold, calculated nature of the attack was unsettling. Newspapers began to report on the Whitechapel murder, speculating on the motive and the killer. Who would do such a thing? Was it a gang-related dispute? A robbery gone wrong? The police began their investigation, interviewing witnesses and trying to piece together Polly Nichols's final hours. They had no idea they were hunting a new kind of predator, one who would not stop at a single victim. The fear was a quiet seed, just planted. Soon, it would grow into a forest of terror, and the autumn of 1888 would be forever known as the Autumn of Terror. The killer didn't have a name yet, but the shadow he cast was already beginning to stretch across London. The mystery had begun.